Real Life, Real Crime is a true crime podcast brought to you by Woody Overton and executive producer Toby Tomplay in conjunction with iHeartRadio and Cloud 10 Media.
Yeah, the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney prior to and during any questioning. You can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. You understand your rights?
Your crime spree was over, son. Yeah, you thought you had it licked, but Detective Overton made you sugar turn to shit. Get ready, you're gonna do time. Real life, real crime.
Warning. This episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that are of a sexual nature and should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I did not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts I'm retelling you were presented to me by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My description of the crime scenes are what I saw with my own two eyes. If you're gonna get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you.
Hey guys, Toby Tomplay here, producer of Real Life, Real Crime. In this segment, about halfway through the interview, the laptop computer I was recording on crashed, and we lost the first 30 minutes of audio from Woody's microphone. So in post-production, I took the audio from the mics that were pointed at the family, and I chopped it all up and raised and lowered the volume so that you can hear what Woody is saying in the interview. So if you notice the volume levels changing, that's what you're hearing. This is the actual interview. The first few minutes just sound a little bit funny. Sorry for the inconvenience.
All suspects are innocent until proven guilty. We're telling a story here, but all suspects are innocent until proven guilty. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. And today we're going to be continuing, and you know what I didn't do on the last episode, and we need to do it now, is come up with a name for the series, and what do y'all think? Obviously, Mary, but
Justice for Mary.
Justice for Mary. We'll go with Justice. Who do you think, Justice for Mary?
Sure.
All right, so we're going to name the title of the series Justice for Mary. Today I'm continuing in the field. Executive producer Toby Tomplay is going to make it sound the best that he can. So if y'all hear any ambient noises or whatever, believe me, we're doing the best we can. But we're on location recording with Mary's family. I introduced them all in the last episode. We ended it with the 911 call, which y'all heard at the end of the last episode, and it's pretty dramatic. But now what we're going to get into is what happened and how these family members came to know of the homicide and what has and has not happened during the investigation. So, who wants to start? Who got notified first? Or
I don't know who got truly notified first.
well, y'all tell me how you got notified.
I got notified, it was 5 minutes to 8, and I only know that because I was dropping my little boy off at school when the call came in.
And who called you?
My nephew's wife.
Okay. That's the same nephew that made the phone call?
No, his son.
Okay.
His wife called me, and she just was screaming and crying and saying, Mary's dead. And I was like, what? You know, like, I mean, I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And she's like, Aunt Mary is dead. And I was like, what are you talking about? You know, and she just kept screaming it. And I said, what happened? And she said, I don't know. They found her on the floor. And I said, I need you to calm down. And I was trying to calm her down. And I said, let me make some calls. Let me, get in touch with different ones. I said, but I need you to calm down and I'll call you back. And I dropped my little boy off because he was in the car.
Right.
And so I dropped him off at school. I went straight to his house because it's right past the school. In the meantime, I called her. He was gone. She picked up, and she had already been notified too. And I said, I'm on my way. She said, pick me up. So, I mean, it was a bam, bam. Drop him, pick her. And we was probably in Irwinville by 9 o'clock.
You're rolling.
I mean, and I still wasn't, I guess maybe in shock. I don't know. I just still couldn't comprehend what she was talking about. What do you mean?
And so when you got to Irwinville, where'd you go and what happened?
We went straight to the trailer. And when we got there was a ton of people there.
Tell me about that.
It was more of his family, all of his nieces, nephews, a couple of sisters. I mean, just...
Was when you got there and you see all these people, was it cordoned off?
No, it was not. There was no cops there.
Okay.
Nothing was roped off, nothing, So, I mean, in our mind, we still didn't know what happened. And you're making your way through everybody because everybody's just standing there. And we go in. And Peanut is sitting on the couch.
Was Mary already moved?
Yes, she was already gone. I guess from my understanding, they had done that before we even got the phone call.
What time was the 911 call?
7. I apologize. I'll get it for you. It was like 7:14, 7:12.
And it's like 7:14 approximately.
Right.
You get a call at 8:05.
At 5 minutes to 8.
5 minutes to 8. Y'all are in Irwinville.
For 9.
9. So 2 hours. Within 2 hours, you're there. Your sister's body's been removed, and his side of the family is standing around.
Yes.
And y'all go to the trailer. You go in, and you see.
He's sitting there on the couch.
And he is
Peanut. One of his sisters is sitting on side of him, and there was a couple of other people in there. I don't know them. I know that was part of their family, and he gets up, and of course, I walk up to him and we hug him, and he's crying and saying, she's dead, she's dead. I shouldn't have left her. And I'm just like, what happened? Well, he's hysterical, or whatever. And so a lot doesn't come out right at that single moment. But when he calms down a little bit, we were just like, what happened? And he's like, I don't know. I came in. Well, he said he had went to bed about 2 a.m. and she was up. They were supposed to leave the next morning on their trip. And he left her in there because he was tired. He wanted to go to bed, so he went to the camper, which was off the porch, literally. And he said he came in at 6:20, 6:15 or something that morning. I don't know. He opened the door, and she was kind of slumped over, kind of like how you're leaning on the couch to take a nap. So he thought she was sleeping. So he left, went 2 trailers over to their grandsons to get him because they were going to go get paint for something, whatever they were doing. And they both walked back, and she was on the floor. And then we were just like, well, what do you mean she was on the floor? And he was like, then she was on the floor. So I don't know if she got up and passed out or this or that. And at that time, you're still trying to make sense of her being dead. So and he just kept on. I shouldn't have left her. I shouldn't have left her. I thought she was sleeping. I should have just pushed her and woke her up or nudged her, but I didn't. He was drinking coffee like water. I'm talking coffee, pouring it down. And Then as the people came in, we kind of ventured back out a little, and different ones are talking with the same story, because that's the story he said. I mean, that's
Which
what he told
is
us, that she
that-
was slumped over like she was sleeping.
He's saying that some point during the night, he left her
Correct.
in the.
She was still kind of folding clothes or getting stuff ready to leave the next morning.
He said at approximately
2 something,
2:30.
Yeah.
They had, first of all, let's explain that they weren't going on a trip as like an anniversary trip, okay?
Right.
He was working with his family, and so they traveled. They did sandblasting, and so they traveled all over. And so for the next year, they were going to be in 3 states. And so they decided together that they would go. Together, they would give up the rent trailer, and they would go. They bought the travel trailer, and they were going to travel for the next year with his job and try to enjoy it. So he said that approximately 2:30, he decided to go to bed in the travel trailer because they didn't have any furniture left in their mobile home except for the living room furniture. Because they had gotten rid of everything because they were leaving in a couple days. And that he had spoke with his brother-in-law at approximately 1:30. Well, he didn't say approximately. He said
He kept saying
1:37.
1:37, like
At
adamant.
1:37, he spoke to his brother-in-law. It was regarding work, and that his brother-in-law heard Mary, and they were kind of going back and forth laughing on the phone, but that he heard Mary talking. Literally, that's what he said. So 2:30, she was trying to get her clothes. She had already gotten his clothes, their grandson's clothes together to go in the travel trailer. That was all done, so she started going through her clothes, or finishing up her clothes. He left her and went into the travel trailer, went to sleep, approximately 6:30, woke up, went back into the trailer. She was slumped over with her legs pulled up.
In a recliner.
No,
No,
like on a love seat.
like a
on the
love
couch.
seat, pulled up and kind of leaned over. So he thought she was sleeping, so he went 3 doors down to their grandson's house, woke him up, came back because they were going to get something from a hardware store.
What hardware store was open at 6:30 in the morning?
Well, I don't know.
In our window.
I mean, yeah. And so, and he went back to the trailer, and she was on the floor face down. I asked, we all asked a bunch of questions just because, we wanted to know, and he kept saying it was her breathing problem. She did have COPD, but that was it. She, and he said he didn't roll her over. He did not roll her over. And yeah, that day it was kind of a lot. It was a lot of people, like she said, a lot of people, in and out, nonstop. He was almost inconsolable. Didn't really have a whole lot of conversation except for what I just said, and he just kept saying he shouldn't have left her.
Okay. And then what happens?
We all leave. We go pick up Margaret from the airport. Well, her and I leave, and because we had rode together, and we went and picked her up from the airport. And the next day we go and pick up Peanut because he wanted me to take him to go take care of business. I had told him that they would probably shut down their accounts or her account. She had an account with him on it, and then he had his own account.
Bank accounts.
Yes. And so we also met up with the funeral director to have that taken care of. And let me go backwards. That day, Monday, he has a sister that was on the phone. When I asked her what was she doing, she was on the phone with the coroner, trying to tell the coroner to stop the autopsy, that he did not want an autopsy done, that he could not imagine her being cut on.
This is the day of.
The day of her
she
death.
was discovered, right?
And I was like, well, no, I want to find out, because if this is genetic or anything, I mean, we have, there's 5 of us, and we want to know what it is. Really believing something had happened. But anyway, she said no. He said to call him, and so she was trying to get me to give her information on who her doctors were, who Mary's doctors were. She kept needing that information because the coroner didn't have enough medical information
To rule it.
to rule anything, she kept saying. So they needed her doctor, her doctor's name and number. So I provided that. I opened up her phone and got her information and gave it to him, and that same sister said, went in and literally looked at him and said, well, what do you want to do? We need to know where the funeral's going to be. What do you want done? And he said, well, no, she's going to be cremated. And she was like, well, where, what do you want done? Where do you want it? I mean, and I was just like, whoa, I mean, she hasn't been dead 3 hours. Who answers all that right now? So skip to the next day. We picked him up. We did go to meet up with the funeral director. And that's what he said, that he wanted her cremated. She didn't want any of it. Mary didn't want to be buried. She didn't want to be cremated. She didn't want to be nothing. And I mean, literally, she was scared of the dark. Yeah. Scared of the thought of being burned. I know to some people that's probably stupid, but it really was a fear of hers. She did not want to be
In the ground.
Yeah.
Burned.
She didn't want to be either one. And I used to always tell her, you have to make a decision. We'll honor whatever you want, but you have to make that decision and tell me I can't, And she was like, no, I don't. I don't have to make that decision. And I was like, well, I mean, somebody's going to have to make that decision one day,
That's important because she wasn't ready to make those decisions when we say she had COPD. My sister wasn't like on oxygen or, we went out to beaches and she went on trail walks and I mean, she was still an active person.
I saw her the night before.
So she, I don't want to allude to that she was a sick person. She was not a sick
Right.
person.
Well, this is coming from Peanut. He's saying,
Right.
must have never seen you.
Yes. And his sister kept repeating that.
Right. I got to interrupt real quick. Y'all got there's no law enforcement, there's no coroner, the coroner's already gone, okay? And any time on a case like this, the coroner, a person 57 years of age, law enforcement had to go out and look at the scene, call the coroner. Generally, and just all my years of experience, the detective would have showed up, they would look the scene over just to see if there's any type of foul play, any injuries to the person, they would look at the lividity on the body as to where it was when the sand was discovered, because that could tell something, right? I mean, if the lividity, they're saying she's face down, him saying he never turned her over. I mean, if you're my wife, I mean, this is just me. If you're my wife's on the floor, I mean, at least, I don't care how long she's been down, I might try to do CPR or something. So y'all didn't hear about any of this, no cops, no.
No, the only thing that I recall was that someone, and I can't remember who said it, but they did, when they got there, them being the police, I guess, they did take him in for questioning. We were told that is just
Formality.
now a formality.
But he was there when y'all got there,
Yes.
so
He
went in
was
for
there.
question, was back in less than 2 hours.
Yes.
Less than an hour.
Oh, yes. And, of course, I don't have the paper with me, but when I picked up the 911 call, they did provide me a piece of paper that has the time frame of everything. From the time the 911 call was made, from the time they got there, took him to the police station, brought him back, because it literally shows all of that.
It's because they call it in on the radio.
It was, I want to say, a little less than an hour for all of that.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So,
We're on Tuesday. We went to the bank. He took money out, moved some money around. And I have to be honest and say, I told him, you need to make sure that you have enough money that you can live on or whatever, because they're going to lock hers down. And so he had retired 2 years pretty much before she passed, before she was murdered. And so she was getting a certain check into her account from him, and then he was getting his money that he was working now with his family, that check. So that's kind of, they just divided it for.
Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts to spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gifts to the coolest finds for kids, to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. Hey y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glaze, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something, all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We've got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference Gobble will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/real life. That's GOBBLE.com/real life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had.
Reasons. And so I was really, I love, he's been my brother-in-law for, since I was 6. He's always been like a brother to me.
So I'll say I came in, they picked me up that day, so I didn't see them from the time the phone call came in till the next morning when we picked him up. I knew that my sister had been murdered. I'm usually very calm. I'm a nurse. I run codes, that type of stuff. So I don't usually respond, but when my sister called me, I hit the floor. And I couldn't breathe. She literally had to hang up and call my son. I knew instantly that something had happened to my sister. Not like my sister was sick and had passed. And so when I got to the trailer the next morning with her, I was in a different mental state at that point in time. I was very suspicious because things were not lining up from a medical standpoint from everything that they had told me. So I started asking all these questions of exactly, okay, went in, I listened to his story. We had took him and stuff, and I think her purse was on the back, so I pulled her phone. And I'm just in general trying to, look at things. So I start looking at text messages from her son and things like that, just to say, I was trying to find out who was the last person talked to her, that sort of kind of thing, But everything that he was doing was reeling her in. And I felt like I was watching from a closed room, if that makes any sense.
I see.
And so all day long, what I saw was transactions being done. He started talking about getting life insurance. Immediately that day, he aligns to change life insurance, putting everything into his grandson's name, and everything had to be done today. He was waiting on something. Okay, so as she talked about my sister being scared, we always teased her. It was like a nickname. We called her Scaredy Cat. She wasn't going outside by herself. Okay, that just wasn't her. She did not, she was not going to go out. So it didn't really make any sense. So when we got back from all the transaction running around, he literally got on the floor and put himself, per what he says, in the position of the way he found her body when he came back into that trailer. He put himself in a cross execution type position, face down on the vent. One arm was tucked underneath like this little chair. You have to understand it was a matter of a space, probably about this, and I'm measuring about 2.5 feet tops, okay? Between the left seat and a chair. And he's got one hand, literally says her hands were like this, and tucks them underneath, one underneath the chair, you just lost your wife 42 years, and you're literally putting yourself in the exact same position on the floor, the same place that you just found her in, and set her feet. And he was very, I say, methodical about telling us exactly how her body was positioned. If I had found my husband for 42 years, I probably couldn't tell you what position he was in. I'm just being honest. And said her feet was tucked around the couch. That was, what he said. And he kept giving reference to a red shirt that was underneath her face. And kept asking, it was a shirt. He kept asking, it was things that he was saying.
What was he saying about the shirt?
Like, does anybody know?
No, he couldn't find it, and he was looking
That's what it
for
was
it.
at first.
And he kept saying, it's a red shirt, it's a red shirt. And I was like, okay. He said, have you seen a red shirt? And we were all like, no, we haven't seen a red shirt. And he said, well, that red shirt was under her face. And we were like, okay, I mean,
But he
and
didn't turn her over.
Right.
no. And I started looking around, I mean, in a small space here, started looking around, and it was on top of a box. And I said, is this it? It was kind of like a burgundy red tank top type shirt that you would wear under a sweater or something, that a lady would wear, kind of not silky, but a softer material. And he's like, that's it. And I was like, okay. And at that moment, I don't remember what he did at that moment because so much transpired. But let me get back real quick to the 911 call. He also told us that when he and his grandson went into the trailer, he went to her and he hollered at the grandson to call 911. The grandson called 911, hung up, and the grandson said, I don't think they heard me, Paul. And he said, go across the street and get his brother's girlfriend. And so he said he did and brought her back over, and she called 911. So when I requested the 911 calls, because I assumed there was two because of that conversation, they said that no, there was only one. And I said, are you sure? I'm telling you there was two. She said, no, ma'am. And when she met me to give me the information, she knew the family, and she told me the grandson's name and everything. She said, that's who called. And I said, that doesn't make sense. I was told that conversation, he wasn't sure that 911 even heard him. And so they went and got, the sister-in-law, if you want to call her that, across the street. And she called, and she said, no, ma'am, that never happened. So it was just a lot of red flags going up left and right.
I saw my sister the night
Yeah.
before she was murdered. We spent 4.5 hours together. We were making flowers for my son who passed away, and her grandma, and my grandma, and my grandpa, and my stepmother. She was not the most chippery like she normally is, but I kind of put it off that she was stressed, trying to get ready to go. She wanted to see Blondie and them and get her hair cut, and she didn't think she was going to have time to do all that before they left. When we got through doing the flowers, you have to know my sister's car. She literally lived in this vehicle. You could probably find anything from a cough drop to
A plate.
a garbage can in there. And we went to put the flowers inside her car, and I was like, Meru, because that's what we picked name. And I was like, where are we going to put these flowers at? And she's like, oh, just hold on a minute. She starts shoving stuff to the side so we could put these flower arrangements in there for her to take back to Chanel, which is by Irvinville,
Cemetery.
the cemetery. She called Dad.
She went and delivered the flowers. The flowers they were making every 3 months, Dorothy and Mary would get together and make floral arrangements to go on the cemeteries, okay, of different ones of our family. So she did go and deliver those to wherever, Lakeland. Chenal, whatever you want to call it, and called their dad and said, that she'd deliver the flowers, even sending pictures, because he wouldn't believe her if she didn't send pictures, because he's old and ornery. But anyway, so, and that was around 8.
That was 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock p.m.
7:57.
Sunday night. She did call him and send him pictures that she had placed them on the cemetery, on the graves. And the reason she's making that comment about her car is because Monday, when we went there, when she was murdered, Peanut was looking for her gun. I don't know why. That day I was just trying to be a good sister-in-law and console him. And he kept saying he couldn't find her gun. Where's her gun? And so one of the nephews and I went out to her car to look for it, and her car was spotless. And when I tell you spotless,
Like off the showroom.
like clean.
Very detailed.
Yeah. And it's just a running joke in our family that, yes, she, again, she'd keep 3 bags of clothes that we went and got from the garage sale for who knows whose kids, and when she'd seen them, she'd have to have it in her car to give it to them. And then the back seat was, well, she probably had those grandkids back there, and whatever they ate, drank, wanted, or who knows what, it was still back there.
So she used her car was a slave to her. She wasn't a slave to her car.
There you
Her car
go.
she kept it. I'm guilty of it a little bit myself, right?
Yeah.
And so we
You know.
established that
Yes.
her car was well used and lived in, without
Yes.
saying filthy or whatever. It
Right,
doesn't
no,
matter.
yeah.
But y'all go to look for this pistol, and it was nothing.
No, there's not a thing in there, nothing. We didn't see the pistol either. Now,
What'd you think when you saw the car that time?
Immediately we questioned that.
I literally was like, geez, I didn't know if maybe she had it detailed. I don't think she's ever had her car detailed ever, but I literally thought, well, at that moment I was like, geez, I guess she went and got her car detailed to go on a trip, but that's kind of not normal either, but I was very taken back by it. But again, I just found out, she died.
Again, at this time, y'all just found out she died.
Yeah.
Believe in this, and what's his name?
Peanut.
And Peanut. You've known him almost your entire life. You're not thinking, almost none of you are thinking that, because you're in shock. You're not thinking there is any kind of foul play or whatever. Her body's already been removed.
Right.
And there's no cops to talk to you or whatever. And so, you see the car, that's just another shocker thing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, it was just, that day there were things just like saying you're not having an autopsy.
Right.
We're
When you objected to that, you were doing, like you said, for family reasons. You want to know.
Yeah, we're all
'cause
over 50.
You spent 4 hours with her that night.
Yeah.
Her COPD, she wasn't gasping for air or anything like that.
And she was smoking a cigarette with me outside.
Right, okay.
And our mom died when she was 58 of lung cancer.
Right.
Yes, she had been a smoker for most of her life. She had quit for 20 years, but but we didn't know if maybe she had something that we didn't know about. She, again,
Right, yeah,
58. Now Mary's
to know.
57 and she died. So yeah, I want to know.
Sure.
And I would hope if I died today, I'm pretty healthy, I would hope somebody would say, yeah, you're going to have an autopsy,
Right.
because you never know what's in the genes that we're unaware about,
Right.
And
all right, so back to the Monday, all these errands are being run, the bank. And,
That was
and-
Tuesday. The
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that was
I'm
Tuesday.
sorry. Tuesday. Monday is the day her body was found.
Correct.
Or 911 was called. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The Tuesday, y'all are in town and you're running all these. Seems like me. I mean, of course, everybody agrees different and everybody does things different. But me, I mean,
It was
I
insignificant.
can't see the bank action and all this stuff going on. And you said something about a life insurance policy.
Yeah, he, it was that day, huh?
Yeah.
Jeez. So we get back to the trailer, the mobile home, and I was very close with Peanut. Always have been my whole life. And so it was nothing for him to confide in, in me. He would call me sometimes, Mary's in a mood, just normal
Right.
conversation, I guess. But so after he showed us how he found her, within minutes, he went out to the travel trailer and had someone send to get me. And I went in there. And he wanted me to go through her purse with him. And so we sat there. And again, I'm just trying to do whatever he wants to do,
Be supportive, right?
Yeah, be supportive of whatever he's going through, And he goes through I'm talking everything. And if you see her car, you'd understand her purse. Right. Okay? I kid you not.
Full of, yeah.
So every
Catch all.
receipt, she had everything in that purse. And he is literally going through everything. And, there's, all kind of stuff, normal purse stuff, but a lot of notes. And there was notes in there from him, like when they would go on a trip. It looked like he had been writing her notes while they were out. That's what it appeared to be. Little short notes, saying he loved her and stuff, that kind of thing. And he opened up every one. He opened up every receipt. Started telling me that they had, the night before, Sunday night evening, after they went and put the flowers on the graves, they went to the store and bought scratch-offs. And he wanted those scratch-offs. Adamantly wanted those scratch-offs. It didn't make any sense to me.
Scratch off lottery tickets.
Yes.
Right.
And I was like, well, I haven't seen them. I said, there's lottery tickets I saw in the living room. He said, no, that's old. I'm not talking about that, And I was like, okay. And he just kept on. Literally, these scratch-offs were very important. I said, well, did you win? And he said, no, she won a little bit. And we went back and traded them in. And the lady at the gas station was laughing. He said she knew them. And she was laughing because he made the comment that, she was changing all that money that she won back into more tickets. And he wanted them. And I said, well, if you didn't win a second time, what are you wanting? And he said, well, I just want to keep them as a keepsake. And I was like, okay, well, I never saw them still till today. Have no idea where these scratch-offs are. That red shirt, he pulled out her makeup bag, which really wasn't makeup. It was like face wash stuff. And I folded the shirt and I stuck it in that bag. And he said, well, do you want that? And I was like, no, I don't want anything. He kept trying to give me things, the same things that he kept repeatedly talking about. It wasn't like, I saw something and said, oh, I remember this. And he said, you want it? It wasn't like that. It was all the things that he kept drilling the same things, some very important things over and over and over. And I was like, no, I don't want that, And he said, well, y'all bought it together. I said, I don't care. I don't want that right now, Peanut, We literally took all the clothes that was in a box, the box that she was putting together the night before, took them out, and he had me put them in a cabinet by the bed. And so I did. And it was everything, a box full of everything from her underclothes to pants and bathing suits. And I put that in there, and trying to think what else it was. It was just, I can't remember. What was it? Oh, there was a ring. There was some kind of ring in the purse, and he asked me, did I know where it came from? I was like, well, no, I don't know where that ring came from. And he said, I don't know where this came from, but I found this ring in her purse. And it was another thing that realized that for 3 months, I spoke to him on a daily basis after she was murdered, multiple times a day. And so the red shirt, the ring,
The lottery tickets.
the lottery tickets.
Let me just say, when you say, you spoke to someone for 3 months,
Yeah.
since she was murdered, you have to understand that we were never even given the autopsy at that point. This whole time, the autopsy report or death certificate hadn't even been issued. So all we had to go by was what either someone told us,
Red flags.
what Peanut had told us, or
Right.
maybe some officials kind of raising some concern, saying
Right.
that doesn't sound right. Why are they, you know what I mean? So we knew at this point, I think most people.
Hey, ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore, because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone support and supplement, it's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC.
People would probably feel you had suspicions of foul play, or a coroner would have not taken 3 months
Right.
to tell you
Yeah.
how she died.
And I could see where people would question that. Understand that I can sit right here today and tell you I still love him. The man that was my brother for 40 something years, I can't just turn that off.
Right.
So for me,
It's a double bang.
even though I felt like something was wrong, I didn't have any concrete answers to what was wrong. Like my brother said, we didn't have a death certificate. We didn't have anything. I knew that it was under investigation. And at the same time, I can't turn my heart off.
Yeah, I understand.
I don't think I could ever turn my heart off.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm probably a little bit different than some, but and at the same time, something in the back of my head was, concerned that if I could talk to him and hear something that maybe was off, even more red flags. And then I did go to the detectives, and I did talk to the detectives.
Let's hold on one second, because it's important that this is a 3-month span we're going on. At what point did, unless this is the first time, at what point the detectives get involved, or what point did other people's suspicions, or what happened? What happened to make it go from she died from COPD before the death certificate gets issued? What happens for an investigation to start?
All the red flags were started to go off within 3-4 days. And that was the red flags of he never rolled her over. She was stiff. His words, she was stiff, so he couldn't roll her over because her arms were stuck up underneath one underneath the chair and underneath the sofa or love seat, whatever you want to call it.
MEK.
He kept talking about MEK. That is a paint thinner, an industrial paint thinner. And literally day 2, he brought up with us in the car about the paint thinner, about MEK. He calls it MEK. He said that Sunday night, she always kept her nails. It's the only thing she did for herself, really, but she always kept gel nails, you know, on and loved them. And he said that she had broke one, I believe a thumb, and pinky, and she wanted to get them off.
Did you say how she broke it?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
And she wanted to get them off. So he went and got MEK paint thinner.
It's not paint.
For her to soak the nails off. Again, this was repeatedly discussed multiple times a day for 3 months.
And he's saying he did that the same night she was murdered.
Yes.
Okay.
And he kept referencing that the MEK, he kept saying that it was put in like a little
Medicine cup.
Small medicine cup, and it had fell over and splashed all up in her face.
Okay.
And that was a repeat. That was, and he kept specifically saying that she had broke her pinky nail, and that's important. And then said that she had scratched his back and had left scratch marks all over
Just
his
about
back.
to ask y'all, because it popped in my head, did y'all see any type of injuries to him or whatever in the first day or 2?
He had a scratch on his face.
Okay.
That I recall.
I'm sorry, but go ahead. He said she scratched his back.
Yeah, that you know, I love the way she scratched my back, and he said her nails were jagged, which she always took care of her nails. That was something she was, and she
And
just
she
would have
went
went
to
and got
a
it
place and
fixed.
had that done. She didn't do it.
Her nails wasn't messed up that sweet.
And so he said that she had scratched his back that night and had left. He didn't show us, but said had left scratches on his back.
And when you were with her for the 4 hours doing the flowers,
Her nails were fine.
her nails are fine. I mean, it's
Yeah,
a natural
you're sitting
assumption
on-
you're sitting together putting, you wouldn't notice because she took such good care of her nails.
Yeah.
Only thing she did for herself, if you'd have seen broken, jagged nails.
I'd have said something.
Okay, let's
She just said something because she couldn't.
So, the 3 sisters here, me and Laura and Margaret, got together and decided to go talk to the detectives.
and tell me about that.
We did that within probably less than a week.
Oh yeah.
Less than a week. It was, probably 4th, 5th day.
And who did you go talk to?
Who did we talk to? Initially, it was Detective Bouquet, and that was Doucette, Detective Doucette.
And so y'all go in and you say what?
They took us separate.
Yeah,
Okay.
they interviewed each of us separate.
But this is at y'all's request.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I had called Detective Bouquet Tuesday. I think it was Wednesday night.
So 2 days after.
And I asked to meet with him, and it was after the weekend before he could meet, and so he has set up for us to meet.
Okay, and so you go in and they pull y'all in and interview you, and what happens?
For me, they asked me, kind of I guess what I was there for, and just I had written down a lot of things that wasn't making sense. The shirt, the MEK, the ring,
Him showing the body position,
the body position,
car being clean,
yes, and
nails.
The
Yeah.
affair.
yeah,
Also, how he had pulled his 401k out, and my sister wasn't even aware. He had retired, and she wasn't even aware until afterwards.
Okay.
They told us that day that I think it was that day. I apologize because we have met with them multiple times. They wanted, let me assure you was the words.
That was the last thing he said.
Let me assure y'all, your sister was not beaten.
The detective told you this.
Yep. As we were walking out.
Let me assure you. Now, y'all remember this.
Oh.
I've talked to the lifers. Y'all remember this. The detective, as they're walking out, the last thing they say is, let me assure you, your sister was not beaten.
Yes.
All right, so again, the detectives tell you when you're going out the door, let me assure you, she was not beaten.
They said she had not. Let me assure you, it's not like your sister was beaten. That's what they said. She was not beaten.
Okay.
And we were like relieved.
Right.
I mean, we were like, okay, whew, that's.
And this is a couple days after. That's when y'all went in the first
within
time.
the first week.
Yeah.
The first time. Because I know a little bit of the background. At some point, the family was approached anonymously and received a picture of Mary
Yes.
after her death, and it was of her face. I've seen the picture, and you tell me about it. I'm sorry to make you do this.
Well, there was definitely some discoloration, and there seemed to be bruising on the neck. It's hard to look at it, obviously,
Yeah, the pic.
but it was something that was very apparent. You could, it was, yeah. And for a lot of people who may hear this and think, well, that's a matter of interpretation or whatever, or that's not what I remember seeing. You have to remember at the time of the funeral, which she was in control with her body was in possession with the coroner. So the only way that we was able to have a service, which was at the request of Peanut and family and for her, but at that point, was to have like a service, but then the body had to be taken back to the coroner. So
That's correct.
and at the time of the funeral, if people remember, my sister's head was tucked and she had a turtleneck.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So you have to understand why. Now when people see that and they think of that, and from what you hear today, obviously more things come about and people say that made sense. I was wondering why she was positioned that way and why she had a turtleneck and stuff. And I said, well, that was to hide. They didn't want,
Right.
to make her look her best.
Let me do this, okay? I actually pulled up the pictures, okay? And y'all I've been to, I couldn't even tell you 1,000 autopsies. For someone to say that she was not beaten and I'm looking at this picture, it's just outrageous. And I'm telling you, and this is hard, y'all, and I'm sorry that Ms. Schutz, that you have to hear it, etc. But I'm gonna describe it to you. Both in this picture, her eyes are closed. Both eyelids, or at least the one on it would be her right eyelid, is black from just above the midpoint above the eyelash, just below the right right corner of the eye is a serious contusion. Appears to be some type of cut, injury. And going down her cheek from diagonally from that to the corner of her mouth is a red striation or bruising mark. This is almost like a continuous mark to right above the right corner of her lip, but it takes up from the top of her lip down to the middle of her lips, almost up to the bottom of her right nostril is a serious, it's not a bruise, y'all. It's an open wound. It's a contusion. I don't know how else to describe it. Now, looking at the rest of the photo, on her nose, if you go up from that contusion at a diagonal area, there's a red mark. Come across her face, go across her mouth, on her lips, on the other side of her mouth, again, bruising from about the midway below her left nostril on the bottom lip to the corner of the left side of the mouth, the opposite side of the mouth. It is a discoloration contusion. And at the very corner of the mouth and just below that, or it's almost like two pinholes, but there's two wounds there. Go straight up that side of her face. It would down from the left nostril at a diagonal angle. There's another contusion / type bruising. Then go up to the opposite eye that I described earlier. Is a gash. I mean, her eyes closed. It's her left eye from just below her eyebrow at a diagonal, and it has a little jagged dip, and it goes down almost to the corner of her eye is another cut. Now, this is not an autopsy cut, y'all. When they do an autopsy, they do cut the flesh around the back of your neck, etc., and they'll pull the skin forward. This would not have happened as a result of the autopsy, and I'm telling you that because you don't get the bruising, etc., after an autopsy because the heart has already stopped beating. Bruising doesn't occur. And then this next picture, and I don't even know which part of the body of it is. It's maybe her arm, or I don't know which arm. There are two obvious cuts, almost like big. You could call it nail scrapings, but the one is too perfect of a line to be that. The other one is almost shaped like a compound, a recurved bow. It looks like a bow. It's bent on one end, it comes down, but in the middle of it is a deeper gouge, and it gets lighter as it goes down. I mean, I'm telling you, when I say the contusions, let me go down to the bottom of her chin. The bottom of her chin on the right-hand side below that obvious wound that I described above her mouth, which is, I mean, I don't know how y'all looked at this because this is hard. But on the bottom of her chin, again, there on the bottom of the right side of her chin at a diagonal going from the corner of the lips to the bottom of the chin is a serious, it's beyond a bruise. It's almost like little puncture holes but it's in a line that goes down. I would say, and I'm sitting here looking at these pictures, this is, and y'all, I'm just gonna be harsh and honest. This almost looks like someone whose face was drugged down a road, or I've seen road burns. I've seen beatings. Your sister this is undeniable proof. These photographs are undeniable proof, in my professional opinion, that, I mean, certainly she didn't do this to herself after she died from COPD, which we also know now that wasn't the case. And I don't want to be harsh, but it looks like she's beat to hell. And the top of her forehead, above the same eye where the worst of the contusions are, is a large bruise, discolored, a greenish yellow colored, approximately an inch above that right eye, but it takes up that whole side of her forehead. It's horrible. It's horrible. But for a detective to tell anyone, let me assure you, she wasn't beaten. Yeah. He obviously, it's one of two things. He obviously had never seen the body. He had never seen the pictures at this point, or he was full of shit.
Something.
At one of the other meetings,
I'm sorry, but she's one of the sisters had to leave, crying.
When he said again, he told us that they also told us that, there was no really markings to show that she had been strangled, and definitely not beaten. He reminded us again.
Well, this was before the autopsy, right? So there was really no, from y'all first discussion.
No, this was after.
After the
This was
autopsy.
actually after. This was
the report?
probably 4 months later.
Came. Okay.
Yeah, let me interrupt real quick. Y'all, in the background, you hear two of the sisters left, and they're very emotionally distraught. It's a horrible thing to hear. So that's what you're hearing in the background. I'm sorry. Please continue, Ms. Lord.
And I asked him, "Are you sure about that?" And because, anonymously, someone did give me the picture, and he said, "Why? Do you know something we don't know?" And I said, "No. You should know everything I know."
Yeah.
I said, "But you need to go back and check." I said, I asked him, I said, "Have you looked at her pictures?" And he said, I'm trying to remember. He said, "Yeah," and he didn't see any. I said, "You might want to go look again."
Yeah, and put your glasses on.
And he told me that the coroner's office said that she didn't have any markings.
Y'all, because of the emotions and everything, well, I'm going to end this episode. We're going to let the family take a break, and we'll get back into it, and stay tuned because it's so important. And be a hero, give the gift of life. And if you want to sign up, go to lopa.org, take a minute, sign up, be a hero, give it the gift of life. I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. Until next time, or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder Bayou. Peace.
Get ready, you're gonna do time. Real life, real crime.
Real Life, Real Crime is a true crime podcast brought to you by Woody Overton and executive producer Toby Tomplay in conjunction with iHeartRadio and Cloud 10 Media.